What's going on, everybody? My name is Ben, and welcome back to the bench for another episode of our 1/48 scale Eduard P-400. Today we're going to go ahead and jump back into this kit and really do our best to get this thing into priming. So let's go ahead and dive right on in. Now, last time we worked extensively on the wings and the fuselage, getting that all buttoned up. We painted everything. We have some seam lines to contend with, as well as the rear tailplanes that have to be installed. We have to mask off the canopy. We have to go ahead and work out what we're going to do for that front nose, propeller, landing gears, all that good stuff. So we have a lot left to do. We also went ahead and worked on the drop tank. That is nicely assembled, looks fine. And we built up our wheels, both the main and the front nose wheel, and did a little bit of work on the propeller. For the most part, not too shabby. Everything is coming together nicely. We have a little bit of PE work to do. There's some PE installation there on the undersurface of the canopy, which is unusual, but that needs to be done. And I want to go ahead and scratch build the clear part there on the gun sight. So lots to do, guys. Let's go ahead and jump into our time lapse, get the canopy all set up, work on some of that PE, get the canopy masked, get everything nicely installed, and then of course sand, do some seam cleanup, and see where we go from there. Let's go ahead and get rolling. All right, everybody, so we are back, and so far we are moving right along. Canopy dropped in without much of a problem. We've got the PE part glued up inside. We've got the reflector gun sight made, and I think, yeah, we're ready to move on with the next couple of areas. Now, the P-39 and the P-400 actually have three, I guess, vents in the back here. I'm assuming for some sort of radiator or oil cooling. And we need to go ahead and add in those parts. Now they do give us some PE parts for the mesh for the screens there on the back of those little radiators. But you know what, to be honest, I kind of want to save those. I don't want to use them here. Thing is, you're not going to see them. These are going to be tucked up inside. And then we have these louvers that sit up on top of that. And that's going to completely block them. So you're not really going to see anything on the inside. So instead of wasting some photo etch, which is really nicely done, by the way, I think we're going to go ahead and just not use them and save them for another build. I love using them in like scratch building and stuff for other kits, sometimes sci-fi stuff, sometimes military-based kits. So it just depends, but I think it's better to go ahead and keep them than to use them, but you're never going to see them. So we're going to go ahead and just kind of shave them down, clean them up, and drop them right on each of the individual openings. I think this is going to be perfect. Now they are kind of keyed though, so you have to make sure they kind of fit in correctly to these openings. But once you kind of figure that out, get them sanded down, they just drop right into place. We'll take a little bit of extra thin Tamiya, drop it in there, glue them down, and we're good to go. Now that I've got all those installed, I want to go ahead and switch over real quick to some re-scribing. Now when I went ahead and installed the wings to the fuselage, the rear portion here on the wings was actually a bit of a step. So I went ahead and I filled them with super glue and I got everything more or less tapered and nicely sanded down so everything looks good. But we did lose our panel line there. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is use a little bit of Dymo tape and we're going to go ahead and scribe that. Put that line right back in because it seems to be an actual panel line, so I don't want to lose it. Again, Dymo tape works wonderfully for this, and I'm going to actually try something a little bit different this time around. Most of the time I get a pin vise, I throw an actual needle into the end of that, and I use that as a scribe, which works fine, mind you. That's how I've done it for years and years and years. This time around, I'm going to use something a little bit different. Now I've seen other YouTube modelers like Plasmo and Night Shift use a razor saw, and that's what I have here. This is a CMK razor saw, and I'm going to try it out. I'm going to see how it works. My goal is to have a nice thin line that's not too big, not too chunky. And yeah, it actually does a very, very nice job of that. So yeah, we're going to go ahead and move on here with the next time lapse and do a little bit of re-scribing on different areas there on the nose and the top of the fuselage. Then I want to go ahead and mask up the wheel wells, get that ready, do a little surface prep, make sure all the wings are nicely glued together. And then we're going to go ahead and head over to the spray booth and start with some black Stannores primer. Let's go ahead and finish off for today, guys. Let's do it. And we are back, everybody. This was a really productive episode. I was able to go ahead and get the P400 into priming. I got a chance to use these razor saws, which honestly I am a huge fan of now. We're looking great, guys. I'm very excited to see where this goes from here. So that actually leads us to another question of how we're going to end up painting this thing. And I'm thinking we need to come back in, do some marble coats, do some pre-shade, eventually end up painting over the top of the aircraft with all the colors. It's going to be a little bit more complicated. The paint scheme I've got in mind is going to be a little interesting to see if we can't work with. I also went ahead and primed up some of the sub-assemblies like the drop tank. That's looking great. And of course I went ahead and I cleaned up and I primed the wheels, both the main wheels here and also the nose wheel. So these are looking perfect. I don't have any problems with these. They're going to paint up nicely. But that's going to go ahead and do it for us today, guys. The P400 is looking beautiful. I'm loving the Stannarez black primer. It's got a nice finish on it, so this will make it beautifully easy to come back, do a little bit of marble coats, do a little bit of pre-shade, and just go from there. In terms of the color scheme, I'm really kind of leaning towards doing this one with the different colored wings. That's going to be kind of an interesting paint job to do. Plus, it's got a red spinner, so that's going to be really nice and flashy there on the front of the airacobra. Not too bad. I do have to come back, though, and fix up the gun. Unfortunately, I mistakenly glued it in the wrong position, so it needs to be cut off and then redone. That's going to be a little bit tricky, but it shouldn't be all that bad. I'll do some thinking off camera and figure it out. So that is it, guys. Thank you so much for watching episode number 6. Tune in next time for episode number 7 and some painting here for the P400. Until then, you know the drill. Go out there, get yourself some bench time, have some fun, build something cool, and we'll see you back here soon, guys. Thanks again, and take care.